Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gaspers, and I'm with Honky.
Whoa, Nelly. Welcome to Redcast 2.0, now being live streamed via YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We're enthused, we're refreshed, and we're ready for spring ball.
At least Honky is. Also with Redcast Rob.
Well, guys, I guess everyone's going to just have to get used to seeing my face made for radio. I'm not going to apologize for it. It was all Honky's idea.
Yeah, we're through the day. Also, the Redcast Boomer.
Well, I just want to know, are we doing the post-podcast handshake, or has that been thrown out completely?
It's a dangerous proposition, Boomer, but it's a tradition that we would like to continue here. So we'll see if we can get through the show without fisticuffs.
I make no promises, Dave.
That's well, don't push me, Boomer. Well, Honky, this is some snazzy new confines we got here. Can you describe what our listeners, if they were watching us on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, would be seeing?
Yeah, so right now, this is a StreamYard. And a shout out to Ken with Generation Red Pod. He gave me some of the insight onto this, and it's a great tool to be able to do a lot of very cool things. And we not only want to be going live to live stream like we have been the last few weeks, only to YouTube. Now we're doing it to our other social media streams, so that should be a lot of fun and great ways to interact with you live. For our traditional podcasters, we still will be posting our audio podcast tomorrow as usual. So all that stays the same, but this really opens up a lot of opportunities for us. And I guess one of the first ones it does is that we're going to start doing a few more interviews coming up here on Sunday, February 27th. Don't have an exact time yet, but Rob and I will be talking with Husk guys and Jim in Minnesota. And then on Monday, March 7th at 2 p.m., because Rob loves to get these afternoon and lunchtime ones in, we have Brandon Vogel. Very lucky to have him with the managing editor of Hail Varsity. So you can follow him at Brandon Vogel. And you can follow Husk guys at Husk guys and Jim in Minnesota at Huskers MN. So, we've got some good shows coming up there. Spring ball's coming up. It's an exciting time here at Redcast 2.0. And, look, we're getting enthused again. Let's get enthused. All right.
Honky just loves all these toys. You can just tell that he just loves having new toys. And this thing has got him giddy beyond belief. Rob, there's a lot going on. And, you always like to remind our listeners about Hail Varsity and the opportunities there to check a subscription.
That's right, Hail Varsity. If you go to hailvarsity.com and subscribe and go on the subscribe link and enter Redcast at checkout, you'll receive a discount on your Hail Varsity magazine. Like I love to say, I love the physical feeling of actually holding a magazine and reading articles.
You caress the magazine?
I do. I hold it right here in front of my face, mostly so that I don't have to look down when I'm reading for personal reasons. And, that's generally where I read my magazines. And, and I like it. It's good quality. It's not going to just kind of flop around and get bent up, and it's good reading, and it's all Huskers all the time. So
almost a hard copy practically.
Yeah, absolutely. And then while you're there, you can also go onto their merchandise section or their stuff. I'll call it their stuff. And you can buy some Redcast gear. Buy the hat like what I'm wearing. Honky's got a sweatshirt on there. Pretty much anything you want, we can throw a Redcast label on there, and you can go about and represent us around town. One thing we don't sell on there is our Redcast stickers. I may try to fix that, but we've got some pretty cool stickers that we have put together. Let me see if I can find one that's really me being professional podcaster there and going right over the top of my magazine, my microphone, but. These are our Redcast stickers. Pretty cool. Nice vinyl, high quality. They won't be breaking down anytime soon. Dave is still the best looking one on those.
Is that a problem with stickers that they break down too often, or
sometimes they just start to peel weird? Like if you put them on your car, outside, you run them through the car wash once or twice.
They're not weatherproof.
They aren't 100% weatherproof. No, they are not. But
all right,
Ours
They
are
are what
guaranteed
they are.
not to break down in the environment for at least a century, so no
Yeah,
worries.
they're unlike balloons, they won't be killing any animals.
That's right.
Jeez.
Boomer, let's get the drink du jour out of the way here. What are you drinking tonight, man?
Well, I was inspired by our discussion last week with Honky's adventures and his early years of bartending, or excuse me, his early years of bar going. And since he thought it was the Roman Coke, I took it upon myself that such a thing needed to be created. So I was inspired myself, kind of a two-parter. First, thought about the calamacho. It's a popular drink from the Basque Country of Spain, which is traditionally a cheap, dry Spanish red mixed with Coke. It's popular there. It's kind of like a sangria. Then I also decided I needed to give it that kind of Italian Roman flair to it, and then I thought about sweet vermouth on the rocks with a twist, which always makes me think of Rome, the way the sun hits the buildings. So combine the two.
Spanish
it's about
stuff,
7-3 ratio wine and let's say 6 wine, 1 vermouth, and then 3 Coke. Actually, Diet Coke technically. Add a couple twists of citrus and serve it over ice, and you get a nice, tasty drink.
That sounds delightful, Boomer.
It's now the Roman Coke. So there you go, Honky. Such a thing now exists, at least in our world.
The Redcasters listening in from Italy, I'm probably would be indulging in that before we know it.
It'll sweep the continent, Dave. So.
Both, really. I don't know why I wouldn't. All right, sounds good, guys. Sound good. Well, I think we're going to tackle some interesting kind of in the news article.
Dave, you don't want to know what I'm drinking?
No, Rob, because it's a non-alcoholic thing of fakeness. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's the Kool-Aid. I'm going to make sure.
It is the Kool-Aid.
Rob doesn't really understand the different medias that we have, Honky. You really need to teach him that, yes, we now have video capabilities, but we are still doing a podcast. The visuals don't work in that realm, Rob. Just make sure you understand that.
I do, which is why I made you say it out loud.
Yeah, I'm going to be saying it a lot from here on in. I have a sense. I need like an interpreter for you of some sort. Well, anyway, tackle some interesting news of the day, do some scarlet colored glasses, and do a little baseball talk, looking back at a rough first week and previewing a little bit of the TCU matchup. So, Honky, you want to start us off with in the news?
Yeah, well, we have 3 different topics we're going to go over today, and the first one is basketball, but it's not our basketball team. It's the other big basketball story, I guess, of the Big Ten, besides Nebraska. Michigan and Wisconsin had a little throwdown, and it went like this:
77-63. And Juwan Howard not going over immediately to shake hands. Now he's going to get in the line. Interesting finish here. 77. Oh, see, and they're going at it. Oh, yeah. Howard and Guard are not happy right now as the two of them continue to have words. We told you Juwan Howard was not happy about that timeout. And Juwan Howard just threw a right hand. And now we got a scrum. We have a scrum in Madison. Players are pushing and shoving. This is an ugly scene. This is an ugly scene.
Oh my. well, that was just lovely.
my first comment on that entire situation right there, Juwan Howard absolutely deserved to be suspended for just the way he threw that punch alone. I mean, who throws and it's not the fact that he threw the punch.
Who throws a shoe?
Honestly, it's just the way that punch looked. I mean, you can tell that guy's never been in a fight.
Do you think he would get suspended longer than the remaining 5 games of the regular season if it was closed?
He should be fired just for the fact that he can't throw a punch.
Well, Boomer, I mean, I don't think tensions have run that high at the end of a Nebraska game in a long time, because we typically lose by, double digits, like we lost to Northwestern tonight. So not a lot of that happening in the handshaking going on at Nebraska games, but obviously Wisconsin and Michigan not happy with each other, and not a good way for either coach, but especially Howard to look there on air.
No, it's an odd look, and that always kind of just makes me wonder is Why do we kind of let that go in sports as much as we do? I mean, Dave, do you ever like have an issue where like you have a disagreement with the budget, maybe somebody in city council, and you just come to fisticuffs and slap each other around? Maybe you get suspended for a week or so, and then you're back in the office. I mean, it's just odd how it slides, and we let it go in sports so many times. But any other job, you'd probably get arrested for something like that, or at least
Yeah.
something to that effect. It is odd how we let that slide, but yeah, it's a bad look for coaches to do that. You're supposed to be setting the example, and you've got to look better than that. I know passions get heated and these sorts of things, and it can be tough, but tempers can flare. But you've got to be bigger than that when you're the head coach. So
yeah, it was a messy end. Obviously, there was a timeout called there. The timeout was called because Michigan was doing certain things. End of the day, though, I mean, you just can't really do that. And it's probably not good for the Big Ten either for a look per se. But I would imagine that Howard will somehow recover from this. Honky, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, like you were saying with Nebraska, we haven't had that much fun at a game. At the end of a game,
not a lot of passion right now.
Yeah, the passion just isn't there. I mean, you can't hit people. I don't know what else to say. And I guess with Howard too, that wasn't the first time that he's had this similar kind of issue with other coach. And I don't know if it was at the end of the game the other time, but I think it's appropriate. And the Big Ten did come down. They suspended him for the last 5 games, remainder of the season. They fined him $40,000. There's some other suspensions there. And then Wisconsin, they fined their head coach $10,000, great guard, and has suspension 1 game for a student athlete there. And then the Wisconsin athletic director came out and gave like a really weird statement where he was basically like, well, it's not the coach's fine. It's our fine. We'll pay the fine for him. And that was it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it ends up kind of being, guys will be guys and we'll just move on and not a big deal. And we'll get into the postseason. I think that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I mean, unless it happens again, I hope maybe this will die off. But in other news, the Big Ten made quite a bit of noise about the big payday that now is being expected. It sounds like everyone is going to be bidding on the media rights deal for the Big Ten next year. Or later this year. So it won't just be ESPN or Fox, really, but we're talking about CBS, NBC, the streaming services, I would imagine. Sounds like it could be a bidding war that could bump up the total package to over $1 billion. Keep in mind that the current record is $440 million, I believe. Is that right? So it's doubling or more what the Big Ten is currently bringing in. So if you think we've got a lot of really nice facilities over the last decade or so because of the Big Ten money, wait till you see what we get next, right, guys?
Yeah, all facilities, but can we get that third baseball coach?
I don't know.
No pennies to be found anywhere. They can't be done. Budgets are that tight.
Can we find the money for a jumbo statue out of that, Boomer?
Well, I'd like to think so. Maybe Jumbo and Bummy. We can get both out there. I mean, it's well deserved finally, and yeah, we've got to blow the money on something. So we certainly can't pay the players. So it's got to go somewhere. So, and that'll break the curse. I mean, it's been proven at this point. There's no other explanation for men's sports. So haven't won the Big Ten since we let them go to Indiana. So
hey,
it's science.
We've not lost a game since the Redcast has been on StreamYard, football-wise.
That's true. So there is that.
That is very true. Boomer, or do we have any comments yet coming in from our live streams?
No, mostly just fun comments. Ken believes the Roman Coke needs to be a T-shirt, so I said we can put Rob on that, so that'll be a good one. So, and people are excited for the Redcast on the rocks, and that stream looks great, and specifying hockey. So there you go.
Well, cool. That's very nice.
That beanie in particular, I think that's really the ticket. Yeah.
And last but not least, I think in terms of in the news is in the last week, they announced the college football playoff is not going to expand at least through 2025. So it's going to stay at 4 teams. And some people are really frustrated by that. Some people don't want to see it expanded at all. I guess, Dave, I thought you had a really interesting kind of viewpoint on it. We actually posted your text to a tweet back on Sunday or whatever day it was. But your idea is that if you're frustrated, if you want this to expand more than 4, and it's not happening right now, if you're frustrated by this, there's actually, I think, maybe a sliver of hope here between how this could open it up beyond just ESPN by having it actually, extend all the way through 2025 and then, open up, for bidding. So I guess expound on that idea.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the Big Ten media rights deal is a precursor potentially, right? I mean, the idea here is that live sports is more valuable than ever because it's about the only thing you actually need to watch in real time to really get the full effect. So advertisers clamor for that. And you also have not only the traditional networks, but the streaming services trying to get in on this business. I mean, look at all the expansion of Peacock and Paramount Plus and all those type of things. You have YouTube TV, Amazon Prime, all dabbling, Yahoo. I mean, into, actually doing streaming for live sports because it's so valuable. And so even though, could you bring that graphic back up? Actually, I'm doing the Rob here, but folks, Honky had a nice graphic up that talked about, and ironically, it's an ESPN graphic, go figure. But it states here in bullet point 2 that the conferences in Notre Dame have forfeited roughly $450 million in potential revenue by staying at 4 teams. Well, that implies they're forfeiting it because they aren't expanding now. But to expand now, you would have renegotiated with ESPN. They have sole negotiating rights at this present moment. And so I doubt ESPN would have just simply renegotiated and still let the term end in 2026. They're going to extend that out. So ESPN would get this locked down for, 8 years plus or minus, I'd be guessing. And we'd continue to have ESPN control the narrative of all of college football because they have the majority of the media, Fox really only being their only competition and not having nearly as many games. So, I mean, I guess on the bright side here is you could look at 2026 is kind of breaking away from ESPN because I think the opportunity here would be to have this go out to market and have everyone compete for it. I could see multiple, just like the NFL. Think of the NFL, guys. Does just one of the TV providers carry all the playoff games? Is it just Fox? Is it just ESPN? Is it just ABC or NBC? No, all of them. NBC, CBS, Fox, all had playoff games this year.
NFL
right?
Network, it's NFL Network too.
Well, NFL Network they own themselves, right? But
yeah,
but they didn't do playoff games there, Rob. I don't believe they had regular season games. But point taken is that it's a really diverse list of providers and so they all want to bite at that apple. And so the opportunity here, you may be able to divvy this up across multiple platforms and multiple providers and make way more than $450 million that they just gave up. Right? We're going to take a little longer to get it. But I think the payday's coming if you expand to 12. And, I mean, I'm not saying that there isn't other issues out there that need to be resolved. There's the Rose Bowl. There's where the first round games are played, all that type of stuff. But to the point of some of the complaints, even from the athletic directors involved, is like those seem to be petty disagreements. Well, they're pretty disagreements that might be just a kind of a veil of what they really were trying to achieve, which the Alliance did not want to sign this off to ESPN. They're like, no, we're going to wait till 2026. And I'm telling you right now, if you were the Big Ten commissioner, Honky, and you were trying to negotiate and ready to put your position in your conference this year to have Fox and NBC and everyone else bid on your product, would you want to go ahead and sign away the playoff to ESPN and not let them in the door? Don't you think they probably have had the Big Ten's ear saying, hey, why don't you just wait 4 more years and we'll give you way more money? I think people have short-sighted this and let ESPN actually control the narrative about, oh boy, we missed this huge opportunity with the playoff, when in reality, in 4 years, the payday is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, that is our news of the week, Dave. So.
All right. Silence. No one else has an opinion on this.
I mean,
help me out here.
I had an opinion at first, but I think after hearing what you had to say about it, Dave, God, I can't believe I'm saying this. You made 100% sense And you're right. I think it does. It has to do with the fact that once they let that ESPN contract expire, we'll probably see this brought up again. I can't disagree with you there. It was logical, Dave. So.
Yeah, although it does bring up a couple of good questions, though. Even if we are waiting for this next scheduling contract to come up, there are all these other issues that come with expanding a playoff, and are these disparate commissioners and conferences going to be able to come to some sort of agreement on it? You mentioned some of the things. I mean, as much as it annoys Nebraska fans, but the Rose Bowl seems to have incriminating photos of a lot of Pac-12, fans and Big Ten fans, and they're willing to defend that stupid bowl to the ends of the earth, making sure they get their coveted New Year's Day time slot so we can all stare in awe at the sunset on some random mountains that, great. But that's going to be a sticking point. And then
Gables are majestic.
I'm sure they are, and they're lovely, but whatever. And then you also have the issue of how many games are we going to play? You mentioned that. Where are they going to play the games at? Is it going to be conference sites? Is it going to be? Are we going to continue to outsource this stuff to neutral sites? In the South, the way a lot of people seem to want to do. And then what sort of impacts is this going to have on just regular conference scheduling? You got conferences like the Big Ten scheduling 9 conference games. The SEC is going to continue to skate with 8 or whatever they do. Are they ever going to be able to make all this work? I mean, sure they got that big siren song of hundreds of millions of extra dollars out there, but does there seem to be any sort of unity in this sport about trying to do what's best for everybody in this sport? I don't know if there is. So who knows if they'll ever be able to come to some sort of agreement on this. And that is kind of a worry a little bit, where this could go. Yeah, I mean, because like it said, there's $450 million possibly there for the taking, which they could have gotten, and they passed on it for all these other random issues to a degree. I mean, but you're probably right there. There is probably some hope that there is more money coming down the pike, but we'll kind of see on that. We did have a few questions pop up here. One from Jason Stinger. So is the Big Ten, ACC, and which other conference had voted against expansion? I believe the Pac-12 was the other one. It was 8-3 vote. So out of the 11 conferences that are involved in this, the Big Ten, ACC, and the Pac-12 are against it. Big Ten and Pac-12, beholden to the Rose Bowl and, wanting their own things. ACC, I don't quite know what their justification was for voting against it, but
yeah, I mean, they're tied to ESPN.
Yeah, they're in ESPN. Their media rights are tied in for eons. I don't know.
2032, man.
Yeah, coworker Eric asked, did the Alliance accomplish anything? Well, there it was. They voted against playoff expansion. That's the one thing the three were able to agree on. Was it just a PR moved off, said SEC expansion? And yes, it was. So
yeah, keep in mind. I mean, the SEC was controlling the conversation. They had a subgroup that Greg Sankey was leading, and they're the one that recommended the 12 team. They recommended it, I don't know, a year ago or whenever. And a few months later, suddenly Oklahoma and Texas are invited in the SEC. I mean, so it felt like they felt imminent that they were going to get a 12-team playoff, which they could get 4 or more SEC schools in that way, which would be, relatively attractive. You could lose two or three SEC games and still make the playoff, for goodness sakes, right, guys? But now they're going to have to muddle through at least a couple of years with Texas and Oklahoma in the conference, with only probably 2 SEC schools making it.
Yeah, it's such a hard way to come up with some kind of a solution for that too, with the number of teams that you let in, because obviously you want to have guaranteed bids, right? Like from the, I guess, the 4 big conferences, or 5.
Some people don't agree with that, Rob.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and that's therein lies the issue, right? Like, I mean, why does the SEC get 4 or 5 teams? I mean, you say it just matters more, but I mean, coming into this year, everyone's talking Texas and Oklahoma, but coming into this year, Texas had the exact same amount of wins since they won their championship, essentially, as Nebraska did. They had the exact same number of wins that Nebraska has had since since Texas won their championship with Vince Young. So I mean,
2006.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like Texas is just some like world blowing up thing, and that Texas is automatically guaranteed to be getting into the playoff. But yet, these teams, Oklahoma maybe, but I mean, we'll see what happens when they go in the SEC. Is this whole thing just kind of like a farce with smoke and mirrors? Because every year it seems like it's the same 2 or 3 teams in the SEC that are up at the top, and everybody else is just kind of there, apparently growing the power rankings because they're an SEC team just with the moniker. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I know Honky agrees with me on that one too, and it just means more, right, Honky?
Yeah,
So
until they get past doing 8-game schedules and non-conference big games being at neutral sites like Georgia and Oregon played in Atlanta, until you get done with having Bethune-Cookman's routinely being played in November, there's a lot of inequities in how teams and how schedules from conference to conference are done, and until you get that point, I mean, right now I'm fine with it staying at 4 right now until they can get through the next few years, and today's point, get a lot of the media rights figured out. Get this beyond ESPN. I think that will be helpful. And if it expands, it expands. If it doesn't, I'm not heartbroken either way. There's a lot of people. Brett Cianci at Pick Six Previews, he's a huge supporter of it staying at 4. So I mean, there's going to be people on both sides of it. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see more equity within how we schedule and how we view some of the conferences. I just think the SEC it's top heavy, and it's top heavy with a couple of really, really good programs. But damn, man, it trickles down to where people start thinking Vanderbilt's good, and that's a problem. That's a narrative.
I mean, even thinking Tennessee's good. I mean, let's be honest here. It's like Tennessee is are they still on that blue blood list, or were they ever on that blue blood list? But people
they're not.
But people talk about them like they are. And I mean, let's be honest here. The reason why they do is to build up that, whole persona of the SEC. And quite frankly, it's the ESBSPN.
Yeah.